how we increased a coach's profitability by 28% in less than 6 months. That's the conversation today on the podcast. Let's jump in. BJ O'Neill here with the Business Coaching Success Podcast. So glad you're here, where I share with you strategies, tools, and tips to be able to grow your business coaching practice to 6 figures and beyond as a Christian business coach. Let's jump in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad that you are here on the podcast. Today we are talking about kind of one of those under the hood kind of things. We're going to kind of share with you exactly what we did to help a coach to improve their earnings, profitability by more than 28% in less than 6 months. That's kind of what we're going to go over today. Happy New Year to you. This is the first episode of 2026. We always say it's hard to believe that we're here, yet time is what it is, right? But Happy New Year to you. And I wanted to share with you specifically exactly what we did with a coach who said, hey, this is where I've been for a while. I kind of feel like I've kind of been stuck in this mode. I'm thankful for, what God's provided so far, but I feel like I've been stuck here and I'm not sure what to do. That's going to be what we're discussing on this episode. Regardless if you're on our current coaching team or not, maybe you're looking at potentially joining us. Maybe you're just trying to figure out what next steps, the next journey is. Maybe you own a business. Perhaps you have been in sales or in marketing, advertising. You've worked as a VP somewhere, whatever. And you're looking at this idea of helping others grow their business, helping them to improve their profitability, their leadership, their culture, and so on. You just don't have systems, tools, resources. If that's you, and you'd like to hear and see exactly what we do in supplying Christian professionals a complete and total A to Z, done for you business coaching practice. If you'd like to explore what that looks like, you can go to businesscoachmastery.com. That's businesscoachmastery.com. There's some information there you can get. You can book a time with us. We'll share with you exactly what we do, and then you can make the decision if it's worth learning more about or not. Okay, I'm going to share today 3 specific areas in what we did verbatim with one of our coaches on our coaching team that helped them to improve their earnings by 28%. I'm going to keep some things here and there vague to protect, their name and their business name and whatnot. But I'm going to give you the meat of what we did. And here's why. When you look at growth, specifically in the area of business coaching, whether you've got 2 clients, no clients, you're just starting out or not, here's one of the biggest challenges. I say this often. I will say it until I am no longer doing this line of work, which will be many, many moons, is that many will drift from what they're doing each week, month, year, because they believe, and this is by just normal human psychosis, I should be doing something different or more. Or, oh, I saw this person doing that, I should do the same thing. And then the next week is, oh, you know what, I need to change and do that. Well, maybe we need to do some things different, but the reality is most coaches, and this is just growth in general, this is even just businesses as well, is that because they don't have a very specific solid plan of action, they don't have specific next action steps. And so they dabble around. This person suggested I do this. That person said I should do that. I saw this person on LinkedIn do this. I saw this person on TikTok or Instagram do that. And then, week to week, month to month, quarter by quarter, like it's all over the place. And then we kind of add in as believers the pray and spray theology. We're just, moving it around. I often say, when you dabble, you're going to get dabble-like results. So we start from that context. Again, regardless of where you are in your journey, that when you do not have clear plans that have specific next action steps, things just have the opportunity to be more challenging than they need to be. And the word challenge is going to be different for everybody. For some people, it's not a big deal. Others, it's horrible, right? And I'm going to give you some examples of what that looks like, and then I'm going to share with you the exact 3 things that we did in this coach's world that improved their profitability more than 28%. And by the way, for clarity, 28%. We analyzed, okay, January to July or June of 25. This is what they were earning. And then we analyzed from July to December. This is what they were earning. All right. So we improved their earnings, their profitability by 28% on the back half, if you will, of 2025 from what they were doing the first half of 2025. That's the improvement that we're referring to. So here's just a fast example when we don't have great plans. Let's say that you're going to do, as a coach, that you would like to teach. You decide to do a workshop in our done-for-you system. We have a full-blown, what we call live event mastery. We want to master the things we do, but many coaches, they will dabble. What does dabble look like? Well, if you were looking at workshops, for example, and you only plan to do one of them, that's dabbling. Because when you only have one, nothing really changes. You can't edit what didn't work. Let's say that you invited X amount of people, but fewer than what you thought would show up, and so on. But when you have, like, you're scheduling out 5, 6, 7 of them over a period of time, whatever that time frame is, now you're no longer dabbling. Now you're making a significant effort because you're going to make an adjustment and get better at it. Look, repetition is the bedrock of mastery. So when you can't repeat anything, you have no opportunity to master it. So there's an example of not having clear next action steps because I only did one. It's like doing one webinar. Like I do webinars. If I only did one of them, that I can't really determine if they worked or if they didn't work. If I do 5, 6, 7, 8 of them or so, now we are talking. Okay, here's what we did. Number one, we analyzed their situation, their business, as a question. Actually, several questions. But my point is as we looked at it, we asked several different questions. Here's one of them. What are the things that we are currently doing? By we mean the coach. What are they doing that falls under I'm doing it over, expecting different results, but nothing's changing? All right? So it's what we said. What have we been doing that things are just not shifting? There is no growth to it. We're still kind of hit a stagnation, and that was their issue. They had kind of been in the same spot for quite a while. Not bad, by the way, but they have a desire to grow. So that was question number one. And through that, we made several different identifications. One of them is that they weren't really learning on any one thing that they were doing. They were just doing it. And so if that's you today, regardless if you're brand new, you're just getting started out, or if you've got 5 or 10 clients, the question really remains, if you're looking for growth, if we're not analyzing what we're doing to determine how can I sharpen the saw, if you will, that's one of the principles of growth, is how do we get better at it? Well, if you're not asking the question, you can't do it. Okay? And so we developed a couple of key areas, or recognized there was 2 main points. There were other ones, but for today's purpose, there was 2 main points that came out of that we needed to make some improvements and shift the strategy for growth. Now, here's the cool thing. The improvement of profitability, earning 28% more, and they did no more actual work to do it. You may hear that and go, how's that even possible? I'm going to share with you specifically how that worked. So I'm going to say it again. A lot of coaches, because they try all these new things and they add more. No, we don't want to do that. Now, you may need to do more depending upon how much effort, time, and energy you're putting into it versus what you want out of it. But more by itself is usually never the answer. It's usually, well, what are we actually doing? Is that thing and or a set of things actually producing results? So, 2 areas that we identified that we were going to say, you know what? By the way, we're still working through some of these things. But we recognized immediately a couple of shifts that needed to happen, okay? Number 1 was the pricing model. Now, if you don't know, the average coach in just business coaching in general charges about $2,000 per month for traditional one-on-one coaching. Traditional just simply means you're going to get with somebody 2 to 3 times a month, and you're going to walk them through a plan upon how to improve strategies in the business. It could be increasing their prices, cutting their costs, improving or implementing, rather, is the word I'm looking for, upsells and cross-sells, all those types of things. How to hire people well, and so on. Those are all business strategies, okay? And just if you're curious, if you're not on our coaching team, inside of our complete and total done-for-you system, we have all of these strategies, software for you to sit down one-on-one and help someone walk through one strategy at a time with simplicity to improve that area of their business. All right? Now, they were underpricing themselves. The average is around $2,000. They were 50% of that. They were around $997-ish of what they typically charged. What this already means is that, number one, they're 50% under the word average. That means that they have to work a lot harder to earn what they want to earn. Now, there was some mental mindset issues around that. I feel bad. Look, $1,000 for a business who's wanting to actually grow is not a lot of money. It just isn't. I know if you've not been around economics for a long time or at all, that may sound like I'm $1,000 charging $24,000. It's not. Especially to a business that could be earning, $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. It's a part of the game. It's a part of the process. And quite frankly, business owners who are afraid to invest into the growth, they're afraid to spend money in advertising, and I say this with all candor and with grace that I know how to, probably shouldn't be in business because you have to invest. So we moved them from charging $1,000 to $2,000. That was step one. We got that hurdle. That doesn't mean that their current client list moved that. That's not what I'm referring to. But adding anyone new that was the new number. All right? That was step one. And the second part of that was we've identified that, hey, and because of their background and skill sets, and every coach's background and skill set's a little different. This individual, however, has a lot of I'll use the term leadership principles, skills. They're DISC certified. They have other types of certifications that they can offer. Well, when you have those types of things and you've got some specific skilled areas because of your own personal background, you can do things like say, okay, I'm going to designate one or two areas for business owners to where I'm going to spend more time with them. Some may call it fractional. And I would be very cautious to do this in a lot of ways, but it made good sense for them. But to add at least one tier of $5,000 a month, but they're going to do some specific things. I'm not going to get into the weeds of that today as to the difference between one-on-one coaching and fractional. It just simply means you're going to spend a lot more time with somebody from a fractional perspective. Regardless, they had no tier to offer to get that one bigger client that can literally change the ballgame financially. Okay? So, move the average from $1,000 to $2,000. Now added another offering of the $5,000 for the right client that will not be for everybody, and they won't even pitch it to those that they're working with. All right. Then we added a downsell strategy for the $997. What that simply means is, and by the way, a downsell strategy is one of the strategies that we have in our system to teach business owners. Many of them don't have a downsell strategy. Or even if they have lesser items to sell, when someone says no, they never mention it. And when you show them how to implement a strategy like this, their world can change. And that's what happened with this coach as well. So they tapped into our system and our network where we provide done for you one-on-one, let me say that again. Done for you group coaching. You do the one-on-one. The done for you, meaning our team in a white labeled way, every single week in a group structure will coach your clients for you on your behalf. In this scenario, they now are going to charge $2,000 per month for one-on-one coaching. They have a downsell of $997 for a group as well. So now and here's the cool thing. By doing this, they don't actually have to coach those on the downsell. So pay attention to what's going on. We've moved their pricing from, $1,000 to $2,000 for anyone coming in. If somebody doesn't want to do that, they don't either have the time, the desire, or whatever the objection is of $2,000, they now can offer, hey, I hear you. Here's something I want to throw at you. If you're interested, blah, 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 we can do that for XYZ. Before, they didn't have that option. If somebody just said no to $997, they were gone. So you should always have a strategy of a downsell. So you got your average, you have your, I'll call it for our fun time today here, the big kahuna opportunity, that's the fractional piece, and now I have a downsell. That's the one part of it, pricing strategy. Number two was we changed their presentation style. We recognized there was an issue with how they talked about their offering. And by offering, it's how they were going to successfully help the business owner succeed in improving their profitability and their growth. All right? In most cases, most coaches, they don't need more leads. They need an effective demonstration. They need an effective presentation. Well, that has to go beyond the typical PowerPoints of the world. And that's why, even though we have this system, they weren't really utilizing the system accurately to do it well, to not convince anybody, but to show visually what's truly possible with one, growth, two, custom growth for their prospects. So what we did, and we have in our system the way to do this very thing. One of them is a simulation tool. And we showed them how to properly utilize the simulation to teach business profitability theory, if you will. In other words, we want to show a business, hey, here's how you, with simplicity, grow the finances of the business. And you do that in small areas or in small percentages in multiple areas. It's a lot more complicated to get a big growth number out of one area than it is to get a 2% lift, a 3% lift, or so on. Well, you can verbally, and this is what they were doing, they were just verbally sharing all this stuff, but most people have some kind of visual component to them. And when you look at the word leverage, we want to leverage a tool. That's the simulation tool that we have. It's custom and white labeled for you as a coach in our team. And so we showed them how to leverage utilizing the simulation tool properly to basically visually show why and how even doubling the profits of a business actually comes with ease. So oftentimes, we forget that effectiveness matters, and I can't just talk. Now, we're going to build relationships. We're going to use communication to do that, but at some point, we need to make an invitation to visually show what's possible just in growth. So many coaches run immediately to try to convince someone that I can help you grow. I'm a coach. Let me. Their wordsmithing's out of kilter. They're all over the place. They're not eloquent with their speech and their communication, and it confuses people, or just puts up barriers that's just not necessary. But when you speak less and show more, that's when you get people to start to have what I call aha moments. There's this moment where they go, oh, wait a minute, I'm starting to see it. And because you're the presenter and you're showing a demonstration, they begin to attach what's possible to you. Then we showed how to use the simulation well, and then on the back side of that, to make a full invitation to go to the custom assessment to show them exactly, and here's the move. We want to move away from a closing mindset to genuinely, through a thought leader personality and style, to show the business owner what investing into the growth of their business actually looks like. We should never use the words, this is what I charge. These are my rates. These are my fees. Because what that does is it sets a tone of cost. And because genuinely, when someone has a business coach who is attached to the desire or the purpose of, rather, improving profitability, that's an investment. It's not just executive coaching where you're just helping them to think through things. There's nothing wrong with that, except for that can be very ethereal, not done correctly. In most cases, just my opinion, don't. So 2 things we shifted: their pricing strategy and their presentation style and strategy. So what happened? Well, as they brought on some additional clients on the back half of 2025, they had a better offer, so they're making more money per client, and they were able to close them faster, if you will. In other words, they got more yeses quicker because they had effectiveness in their demonstration. So you look at that, and by the way, they were already earning 6 figures. They just were stuck at the same amount month after month after month, doing a bunch of different random stuff, posting on social media, blogs on LinkedIn. It's not that there's anything inherently wrong with that, but that's just not where 99% of coaches should be spending time. You should be spending time directly investing the relational equity into prospects, into those who are going to introduce you to other people, into building your network. That's what, well, BJ, that's what social media does. As long as you have the right audience and you can confirm that it's actually moving the needle, sure. But that's not the average person. It just isn't. So if someone's in your ear, dude, you should be posting. You can post a little bit and still be effective, but your time really should be spent in building the relationships. So in this case, they were floored that they actually didn't work anymore. And they moved from earning, I think it was around, $15,000 per month, and improved that number by just under 30%. Now, they're just touching the surface of what we help them see. It'll be really interesting in 2026 to see where that 28% actually moves to. But a bigger point, well, number one, I did share with you, this is exactly what we did. But beyond that, it's being strategic. Remove yourself from just kind of feeling that urge just because you see somebody doing it a certain way, but is that the right way for you? Growth is way more simple than you realize, and I understand because I was there. Some hear that and they go, dude, I've been working at this, it's just not working for me. And my encouragement to you without knowing more is I don't want to say you're just doing it wrong, but there's a likelihood that you're not just being effective with it. And that's the part you got to work through. Right? Again, there's lots of different ways this pans out. This is the way we did it with this individual coach that worked out super well. So guess what? Even if you're just starting out, stuck is stuck. They had been stuck in the same place for quite a long time, like going on a couple of years kind of thing, and not getting where they needed to go. It just felt like that they would take a deep breath and do all this new stuff, and just nothing would change. We implemented these, and boom, their income shot up, and they were beyond floored. And by the way, we talk about this in a group style all the time. They just were not implementing it. So there you go. I hope that adds value today to you, regardless of where you are on your coaching journey. Stagnation is a legit thing. And it usually happens because either A, we have an unwillingness to shift, or B, we are just random with no strategy. And I want to encourage you to not fall into that trap. Okay? Until next time, take care.